What's good? How y'all doing? Let's get we're watching a video from 377 Speed. Why modern police chases are so deadly. Let's get
This is a tactic perfected in the late 1980s as a method to stop a fleeing vehicle by causing it to lose control in a controlled manner, if you will. Perfect execution sends a suspect's car into a disabling spin and it will stall, allowing two backup police cruisers time to surround the suspect. Imperfect execution can have catastrophic results. Between 2019 and 2024, Georgia State Patrol troopers deployed this technique in over 2,000 pursuits, with many exceeding 100 miles per hour.
Georgia State. About to watch one of those right after.
Where departments have very lengthy guidelines on when an officer can discharge their weapon, the guidelines to when an officer can execute a pit maneuver may only take up a page, if that. Some departments don't even allow it. Some may need supervisor approval before using it, and others consider a pit maneuver an act of lethal force if used above 20 miles per hour. It needs to be justified considering the factors of the pursuit. This loose standard amongst different departments has made the pit maneuver a controversial issue in the last decade, and has given rise to a push to ban its use altogether. But how did it all get to this point? Well, you have to go back to where it all started.
The 60s, man. Law enforcement is just like fucking. It's pretty fresh, pretty brand new. Still a lot to learn. That's what that movie, American Gangster put me onto. Like, a lot of stuff was like, when it comes to law enforcement, it's more recent. Still pretty new.
In 1969, a man by the name Bill Scott formed BSR Incorporated, a competitive driving school using methods learned from his instructor, the legendary Mark Donohue. The school didn't just teach how to become a winning race car driver. Being located 2 hours west of Washington, D.C., it also taught anti-kidnapping and counter-terrorism driving tactics for chauffeurs and government personnel. And one of the methods taught was called the Tactical Vehicle Interception, or TVI. If an individual was kidnapped, a pursuing vehicle could disable the kidnapper's vehicle by matching the speed of the kidnapper's vehicle and then hitting the rear quarter panel of the target, just behind the rear wheel to spin the target vehicle by 180 degrees and disabling it without injury to the occupants of either vehicle. This technique's origins go even further back to NASCAR, where a driver would bump the rear of a leading car, causing them to lose stability where they would have to input the brakes and therefore slowing down, allowing an overtake.
That's crazy.
The TVI would eventually be adopted by the Fairfax County Police, who were just merely an hour away from BSR Incorporated. And the technique was modified to be used in ending police pursuits and renamed into the Precision Immobilization Technique, or PIT. Fairfax Police taught this method to
make it sound nice, then they can keep it, you know?
Other departments, and the technique spread like wildfire due to its effectiveness. The underlying conditions to successfully deploy a pit had to be ideal in a police pursuit, Unobstructed shoulders, no dense traffic, clear visibility, dry pavement, and lower speeds were mandatory to have a predictable outcome. Also, the type of vehicle being pursued couldn't be an SUV or passenger van, since the higher center of gravity were more susceptible to rollovers when hit from behind. On the morning of August 17, 2004, these recommendations weren't taken into consideration when a Nissan Pathfinder SUV being pursued 50 miles through South Carolina after failing to pull over for a traffic violation crossed into Georgia, heading southbound on I-95.
So my bro is.
The pursuit ended 53 seconds after Trooper William Scott Fisher of the Georgia State Patrol entered the chase by performing a pit maneuver at 107 miles per hour, causing the SUV to spin off the highway clockwise, hurtling 400 feet over an embankment and into a tree.
Holy shit.
The driver, Katie Sharp, 21 years old, and boyfriend Garrett Gabe, 17 years old, were both pronounced deceased. Georgia State Patrol's pit maneuver guidelines at the time consisted of just merely 2 bullet points. It stated that the officers must use the pit in accordance with training and at reasonable speeds and in locations where it's reasonable to expect that the maneuver can be safely accomplished. It was later revised after the incident, but still left important conditions like the reasonable speed to perform the maneuver up to the pursuing officer's discretion. Safety in instances like these can never be guaranteed, but our partner SimpliSafe can make your home a lot. I think they are older with prehistoric security measures like SimpliSafe.
Bad.
The events of August 17, 2004 are just one of many instances of pit maneuvers resulting in fatalities. State troopers in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Georgia together saw at least 40 fatalities tied to the use of the precision immobilization technique between 2017 and June 2024, which is roughly half of the pit maneuver fatalities nationwide. In fact, Georgia leads the nation in pursuit fatality rates, around 18.75 people per million population, around 3 times that of California and more than 10 times that of New York. Georgia State Patrol, having a looser policy surrounding pursuits, has given them the reputation that can be summed up into one sentence: you don't run from GSP.
I hear fam say that all the time.
One thing that is very apparent across many agencies is that pit maneuvers have gotten increasingly more unpredictable due to the advancements in modern vehicles.
Yeah.
All right, roll over, squad, roll over, squad.
Car's trying to correct itself. Oh.
The top speed of an economy car when the pit maneuver was popularized in the 80s was around 95 miles per hour, while the economy cars of today, like the Toyota Corolla, can top out at 120 miles per hour. Middle of the range sedans can easily top out at 140 miles per hour or more, making the average speed of modern pursuits much higher than when these techniques were introduced. Also, federally mandated driver aids like stability control can add a level of unpredictability when trying to perform a pit, as the ABS computer senses the steering input difference in wheel speeds and then tries to stabilize the car with braking inputs, which can cause secondary contact with the pursuing officer. One question that rises time and time again is that, is there a better alternative to the pit maneuver? TDDs, which are tire deflation devices, are one method to get a fleeing driver to stop by puncturing the tires and rendering the vehicle inoperable.
Look at this, look at this.
Oh
my God. Oh
no! These TDDs require an officer to leave the safety of their vehicle to deploy these devices. And a decade-long study found that 42 officer fatalities were directly linked to the placing of these TDDs. Fleeing suspects often try to avoid the spike strips by driving on the shoulder or weaving erratically, which makes anticipating the trajectory of a fleeing suspect much harder to
You each chat.
avoid. Another technology is grapplers, a bumper-mounted device that deploys a net, which is then pulled around the tire and axle by the tire's rotation with the goal of immobilizing the vehicle. While extremely effective in preventing a pursuit before it happens, especially in the case of a stolen car or a suspect with a history of evading police, when used in high-speed chases, it adds another level of unpredictability since the officer is now tethered to an erratically driving suspect.
No grapple, no, gotta grapple.
Also, with a cost average of $8,000 for one device, they are expensive to outfit for smaller municipalities. When looking at other countries, they often use similar tactics to ending police pursuits. For example, in the United Kingdom, TPAC, or Tactical Pursuit and Containment Doctrine, encompasses a broad range of tactics to end pursuits, and as a last resort, a pit maneuver. TPAC officers are dedicated specifically to ending police pursuits, which is in contrast to US police, which are all trained in some sort of pursuit doctrine. These methods are typically accompanied with a helicopter so the police can follow at a safe distance until there is an opportunity to end the chase. The advantage of helicopters in chases to track suspects isn't always an option in the US, typically reserved for larger cities given how cost prohibitive they are. And with a landmass 40 times larger than the UK, police pursuits often don't involve helicopters in the US, so every officer is trained in ending pursuits.
Hands out, going right now.
The pit maneuver as a whole is a polarizing topic of discussion. Its effectiveness at ending chases, the destruction it causes, creates a sort of knee-jerk reaction that you either support its use or want it banned altogether.
Ooh.
Its origins are the direct result of the militarization of modern police forces and departments expanding into counterterrorism and kidnapping training. Whatever side of the coin you fall on, the best defense against a pit maneuver is to not get into a police chase to begin with.
Facts. That'd be very chip.